Hey, what's up, card fighters? So before we get into this deck profile, real quick, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We're really close to our 1K mark. We're like 230, 229 away. I'm not sure where we're at by the time this video comes up, but yeah, we're really close to our 1K subscriber mark, guys. So I just wanted to thank personally everyone to support the channel, all the subscribers, people who like, share, and yeah, and all the new people too, because we're getting more and more people coming around every day, and it's just very heartwarming. But anyways, guys, let's get into the profile. This is my FAVRNEEL deck. Now this deck is better than I first gave it credit for. I did separate between it. It has a really small engine, but I did separate between engine and non-engine here, and then we have like the triggers in the middle. You don't want to run the ride line from the deck set. That ride line like is cheeks in Fav. The Bruce ride line is where it's at, and you have some really cool. I guess I would like to call them draw combos, or like put into soul draw a card or put into soul to pop a card combos. I guess loosely calling them combos, but yeah. Anyways, let's get into the profile, guys, and I know this is gonna be commented in the comments down below. You do not need more than 1 to 2 copies of Ellie Ghost, and I will get into why you only need like 1 to 2 copies of Ellie Ghost. But let's get into the engine cards of the deck. I feel like this is I wouldn't say it's an unfair card. It's very it's costed appropriately, and it doesn't really plus you. It's a break even when you use its effect. But 4 copies of Baron. Baron is what lets you Persona Ride. I'm gonna explain these cards briefly because this is FAVRNEEL and nobody but me plays FAVRNEEL. So I'm going under the assumption that you guys don't know much about the FAVRNEEL deck, but you're interested. That's why you clicked on the video. Yes? Yes. So, yeah. His regardless effect is at the end of the battle, if you have a Fav Vanguard, soul charge him and pop one of your opponent's rear guards. I don't really like that skill because it's the end of battle, but it gets the job done in terms of getting the grades you need in soul. You need 13 different Dark States grades in soul to get the restand off Fav. But his first effect in soul is the one that is what makes and breaks the deck. Like, you need to have this in soul on turn 3 so that you can get your Persona Ride off, because his in soul ability is, if you have Vanguard FAVRNEEL in its name and you did not ride this turn during the ride phase, bind him, discard a card, and you activate Persona Ride. And because you can only run 1 FAVRNEEL per his ability, this just, again, makes or breaks the deck. Like, this deck, it's more consistent than regular Persona Ride decks. I would even say a little bit more consistent than mass decks, but still something that's just like very needed and is not necessarily guaranteed. So 4 copies of Baron, 4 copies of Squealish Freaks. This is more of like one of your combo pieces that help you finish the game, because his first effect is in soul. If you did not ride this turn, he counts as a grade 4 in soul. And then his second effect is when your grade 3 or greater Vanguard attacks, if you did not ride this turn, bind this from the soul and give a permanent 5k your front row until the end of turn. So it really sucks that on your first grade 3 turn, this is just like basically a vanilla grade 2. But once you get into turn 4, you activate Persona Ride, you activate a couple of Ds after your Vanguard swings, then you're pretty much off to the races in terms of Vanguard pressure and a rear guard pressure, because your Vanguard's going to be swinging twice of a crit. And then 1 Ellie Ghost. Like I said, you only need 1. It's you don't actually need hold on a second. 1 Ellie Ghost. You only need 1 to 2 copies of this card. I like it at 1 because it's very searchable as Alpha Forbital. The reason I'm counting Forbital as an engine card is because it gets to basically, except for Squealish Freaks, it gives you access to every grade 3 in your deck, which this deck's bread and butter is grade 3s. So and it's from drop zone too. So even if you damage the Ellie Ghost, you heal it. You can get it from drop zone, or if you have to discard the Ellie Ghost, you could Superior call it from drop zone off of Forbital. So Forbital is really good in this deck. Ellie Ghost is the Countercharger. Its effect is, on attack, Soul Charge a rear guard, pop a card, and then if you have 13 or more different grades in Soul, countercharge one. So FAVRNEEL's restand effect costs CB2 to restand, which is fair because you don't discard anything off the restand. The restand is literally just at the end of the battle he attacked. If you have 13 or more grades in Dark States grades in Soul, CB2, restand him, -1 drive. So yeah, you only need one of it. It's like super searchable in the deck, and realistically you only really need to restand your Vanguard 2 times, 3 times max, because of just like how fast the format is, and usually swinging twice with a crit is pretty devastating on your opponent's hand. Even if they don't guard, you know, you check, you run 8 crits, you check a crit, that's 3 damage right there. But another side note that I do want to add to a profile that I really didn't go over in the beginning of it, I probably should have just went over all of FAVRNEEL's abilities. So let me read them off to make sure. Continuous, you can only have 1 Purgatory Dragon deity FAVRNEEL in the deck, so you can only play 1 in the right deck. And then at the beginning of your main phase, his first auto ability, beginning of your main phase, your opponent chooses one of their rear guards to retire it. And if you didn't ride this turn, he gets plus 10k and a crit till the end of turn. So this is what I mean by like turn 4 is like your very big pressure turn / kill turn, because you're going to activate Persona Ride, your Vanguard's going to get 10k and a crit, so minimum with Baron, he's going to be swinging by himself, minimum 33 with a crit. And then his last effect is actually an effect that comes up quite often, and what helps get you started into your Soul Charge combos is not his last effect, his second auto ability. When your opponent's rear guard is retired during your turn, anytime during your turn. So this means to activate this effect, you could even swing into rears, which I've done many times while playing this deck, or retire during the battle phase. It's not restricted to main phase. You Soul Charge a card from your hand and draw a card as cost. Well, the cost is put a card from hand to Soul and draw a card. So it's not mandatory because you have to pay cost. You could just choose not to pay cost. And then his last ability is his restand ability, which is hard once per turn. But yeah, what I really like about the FAVRNEEL deck is I know I'm jambling. I have like a lot of things that I want to get out, and they're not coming out the way I initially wanted them to come out. But one thing I really do like about the FAVRNEEL deck is it doesn't need to retire to get its game plan rolling. It just happens to retire while doing its game plan, if that makes sense at all. Because you see you have a lot of cards here that go to Soul, and that's going to add to your 13 grade 3 count. And it has like a very like, in terms of like actual real FAVRNEEL cards, you're only running like 9. I'm counting 4, but so 10. I'm counting 4 because it searches for your engine pieces. And then we're going to go on to the cards which I consider non-engine cards, but you're running them. So this deck is focused on grade 3s, of course, obviously, because of the Forbital. So a grade 3 that I would consider a staple in this deck really would be 4 copies of Jarret Dragon. Now Jarret Dragon's effect is just on place from anywhere, so you could activate Jarret Dragon off of Forbital, Soul Charge a card from hand as cost, draw a card. So again, this is like one of those combo pieces where I was telling you guys that you don't really need to retire cards to get the ball rolling on getting your different grades in Soul. Our next card is 4 copies of Causality Dragon. This is like your main attacker. I don't want to cover up FAVRNEEL. So this is your main attacker / combo enabler to get the 13 cards in Soul, because of its first effect that if your opponent drive checks or damage checks a trigger, he gets 10k shield and 10k power. Really good offensively and defensively, since we're running more grade 3s than the normal deck does. And then his second ability is on attack, once per turn, Soul Charge a rear guard in the same column as this unit. It gets 5k, retire one of your opponent's rear guards, and then its over trigger effect, because this is a Festival Collection grade 3, so all of them have over trigger effects. Its over trigger effect is cost. Bind the over trigger from the drop zone, and for this battle, your opponent cannot call grade 1 or graders to guard this attack. So this is essentially like your beat stick / combo enabler / guard restrict. It works really well with this deck. Like usually if you can't kill them with FAVRNEEL, Like in my games playtesting this deck, if I didn't kill them with FAVRNEEL, I'm killing them with this. And then this card, 4 copies of the discard to ride chick. This card works wonders in this deck because when you activate Baron's effect to Persona Ride, let me pull them out real quick. When you activate Baron's effect from Soul to Persona Ride, it's during the ride phase, so you could discard her, activate Persona Ride, draw a card, her effect goes on standby because you're still in the ride phase, Soul Blast 1, put her on the bottom of the deck, and draw another card. So that's like your combo to draw 2 off of your Persona Ride play. Also, she's generally very good to use in any stage of your ride-ups, because you don't really care about grade 0s in your soul because they don't add to your 13 count. You don't really care about your grade 1s or 2s. Mainly what's going to get you to that 13 13 cards in total, 13 grades in total in your soul is your grade 3s. So it hasn't really been a confliction for me personally. I haven't used its second effect at all. It just never really came up. Again, you want your rear guards to just be grade 3s in the front row. And that's all your rear guards. And then this is the card that I've been telling everybody about, that the reason why you only need 1 Elegos. The only reason you need 1 to 2 Elegos is because the purple Jewel Cat, this Jewel Cat countercharges for its rear guard effect, on-place rear guard effect. So you have 1 countercharger, 2 counterchargers. This you can resolve more than once if it stays on the field. And like I said, you really only need to restand your Vanguard generally in 1 game. You need to restand your Vanguard like minimum 2 times, maximum 3 times to kill your opponent. So this is just another good countercharger to play instead of the Elegos, and I'm sure it's way cheaper than the Elegos. I know it's not too cheap right now because of pre-order prices, but this will go down, man. People always be sleeping on Darkstays, but we have the most broken cards and most broken combos. And speaking of broken cards, 2 copies of Quenlu. So my initial idea with the Quenlu is this really doesn't work unless you're on your kill turn, and even on your kill turn, it can be a little bit cumbersome to activate because you do a lot of binding from Soul with your Squealish Freaks and with Baron, and you do a lot of Soul Blasting with your discard to rides. But to get a minimum of 7 Soul isn't too hard, to whereas you can get that grade 1 guard restrict on one of your rear guards. So you could have your Causality Dragon have that grade 1 or greater guard restrict if you have the Overtrigger and Drop Zone, and then you could just use Quenlu to give the guard restrict on your second rear guard. That is that's a little bit of a pipe dream to have happen. More often than not, if I don't have the Overtrigger and Drop Zone, I'm gonna give the guard restrict ability to Causality Dragon, because basically if they check a defensive trigger, Causality Dragon is gonna give himself 10k, so it negates their defensive for his attack. And usually how I play this deck is if they're 2 to passing my Vanguard, I usually give all effects to my Vanguard. Usually he already has a crit, so I'll pass the crit to Causality Dragon, and then just give the 10k power to my Vanguard FAVRNEEL. Getting on to the rest of the deck, this is just standard stuff. 4 DPGs. You can run the Blitz Order PG if you really want to. I just really like DPGs in this format because there's just so much versatility of decks running around right now, and I would rather have just because of how shotgunny the format is, I'd rather have a DPG. Like, not 9 times out of 10, but probably like 8 or 7 times out of 10, I'd rather have a DPG than the Blitz Order PG. The Dark States OT, there's actually a lot of, with set 12, there's like a lot of Dark States decks now that still want to run the Dark States OT. FAVRNEEL wants to play the Dark States OT because this just rewards you for playing a strategy that has a restanding Vanguard. Greedon wants to play the Dark States OT. Omnigruzia wants to play the Dark States OT. Like, we just have like yeah, you know, we're going back to our ruts, because it kind of felt like for a while the Dark States decks I was playing with or playtesting with before set 12 didn't really want this card in their deck. And you could flex on your opponent because it's common. And I don't know about you guys, but it never feels good when your opponent just hits a common over trigger against you offensively. A little bit of a, you know, put some disrespect on them, I guess. And then 3 effect fronts. You want to play effect fronts instead of draws. I know draws came in the deck set itself, but this deck, like, because to perform its combos, it requires you to draw a lot of cards from deck. They're not pluses. They're more often than not, like, 1-for-1s or net zeros is a better way to put it. This deck doesn't really plus. You're just kind of, like, shifting around your cards till you get the correct ones you need. 4 regular heal triggers. Not much to talk about that. 4 regular crits, and then 4 more regular crits. You don't need the Into Soul crit in this deck. More often than not, ooh, that's a nasty glare. Ooh, dog, put some disrespect on him. I think that's, yeah, that's way better. So you don't really want to run the effect crits. There's really no reason to, because more often than not, you're just swinging with a front row of grade 3s. There are some weird occasions where I will have like a 5k booster, or maybe a leftover 8k booster, like a Quenlu or the Cat. But more often than not, your front row is just grade 3s, and your back row is like nothing. Just cards you want to soul charge, which is usually more grade 3s than grade 2s. But yeah, guys, that is the FAVRNEEL deck. I was thinking about doing like maybe a separate combo video or short to show you guys like how to mulligan for this deck, because it's not super obvious the correct way to mulligan for this deck, and how to just get 13 different 13 grades in soul on your first grade 3 write-up. So yeah, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I know this was like a little bit of a long one just because I had to explain the cards in a little bit more detail than I normally do. But hopefully you guys got the overall picture of how the deck operates, and you do not need 4 Ellie Ghosts. Like, that card is insanely expensive right now. You really don't need more than 2 maximum, in my personal opinion, of course. But anyways, guys, y'all have a good night.